morning, good afternoon, whatever time of day it is that you are listening, folks. Thank you very, very much for listening. Day today is the 11th of March, year of our Lord 2024. Welcome to yet another edition of the Coping Hour, hosted by Nicholas Hinkle, a.k.a. Motown Noah. Today's show might be a little bit on the shorter end. Kind of just going to be one of those days for me, I could already tell, and I don't want to tie myself up, riling myself up for too long at 8:30 in the morning. But let's jump into today's show because we got some basketball to talk about. I recorded a video the other day where I went over some of the shots in crunch time that we've been seeing from a bunch of guys lately. You think about Jason Tatum's shot against the Cavs. You think about Darius Garland's shot against the Timberwolves. And then you think, what was the last one I did? Damian Lillard's shot against the Lakers. That Bucks-Lakers game was weird because there's a moment late in that game where Dame kind of keeps deferring to Giannis. And it's like, all right, dude, at some point you're going to – even Patrick Beverley said this on his podcast in regards to a conversation that he had with Dame when they were, like, trying to squash their beef. He's like, dog, those 40-foot shots, like, when you're Dame, like, you got to take that shit, you know, because not only do we need to see that you're confident enough to do it, right, but we need to see as a team, like, how do we rebound? You know, and like very literally, not just how do we rebound the ball, but like how do we rebound like mentally, emotionally from you making or missing that shot? Like how do we carry ourselves? Don't pull any punches. At some point, you're going to have to be Dame. And then at the end of the game, the Bucks are down one. There's like 5 seconds left on the clock. Who's going to get the ball? Whoa, ball goes to Dame. That's fine. I would argue it's kind of wild that it's a 1-point game and the shot was a sidestep with Spencer Dinwiddie draped all over you from like 17 feet. Oh, okay. Okay, whatever. I guess I was just glad he was confident in that moment. Lakers going on to win that game. On the back of D'Angelo Russell, man, who just kind of keeps... Well, hold on. Let me stay on Milwaukee for a second. First game of the season where Giannis and Dame have 25 and 10 each. Huh? This is the first time they did it? What the hell's been going on? What's been going on? You really hope Chris Middleton's able to come back soon. I think the most recent, and hey, maybe there's been an update since that Laker game, but I forgot, they actually played the Clippers yesterday. I should probably look into how that game went. There was a rumor that Chris Middleton was going to come back by like the middle of this week. So as long as he's able to get some reps with Dame and with Giannis before the playoffs start, I think Milwaukee's going to be okay. Honestly, I think they're going to be fine. You know, when you look at all the teams in the West, with Philly, it's like, so that's over, maybe. And then you look at, like, Indiana, and you're like, well, I don't know. No Ben Math. Rest of the year, it's really just Milwaukee, and it's really just Boston that I'm taking seriously. And the reason that I don't take the Knicks seriously, and it's good that I remembered to mention them right here, is because I don't think Tibbs is ever going to be the coach of a team that goes anywhere meaningful in the NBA playoffs, because when you spend the regular season, you know, over exhausting your guys, Mitchell Robinson banged up, Julius Randle banged up, OG Anunoby banged up, Jalen Brunson banged up, Josh Hart playing like 46 minutes a night, huh? Like, what's going on? You know, the wear and tear of that, I mean, hey, what do I know? But I just don't think that can really ever translate to anything. So, no, I'm not really taking them seriously. You know, I don't. What are the standings like right now? They're probably going to be different in a month when the playoffs actually start. But if you put them against a team like the Cavs, I'm gonna pick the Cavs. Like, I just am. God forbid they fall in such a way that they're not going to go into some sort of a free fall. And then Miami is the other team that, you know, just through virtue of what they've done in the past, you kind of have to, you know, include them and be like, well, what about Miami? Yeah, because they're gonna accidentally themselves into some bullshit positioning, whether that's good or whether that's bad. And that's a team that I don't think this year is the year that they are kind of like a matchup nightmare for anybody. I just don't really see it. Where like in years past, you had kind of looked at, you know, what they were able to do on the perimeter with some of their guys, and you were like, ooh, don't put them against Milwaukee. I'm just not that worried about it this year. But we'll see. And then out west, this Timberwolves game, a lot of intrigue from me. Second night of a back-to-back for Minnesota, so naturally Timberwolves were just really sluggish. Really, really sluggish the whole game. The refs didn't help, like at all. I know, and I'm bearing the lead here, the thing that I want to talk about the most is like Rudy Gobert doing the money sign to Scott Foster, I was like, how do you make the joke? And I'm sure somebody already has, but I was like, how do we make the joke that like Rudy Gobert was just asking if Scott Foster was Italian? That's all he was doing. That wasn't a money sign. Here's the thing, man. Like, if you were actually watching that game, I kind of felt for Rudy Gobert in that moment. I was like, honestly, because the refs sucked. Like, towards Minnesota, they were just bad. They were just objectively bad. But there are two things that come with that. One, Rudy Gobert choosing to dig his heels in, draw a line in the sand on a play where he actually committed a pretty hard foul. Just objectively, he did, right? So to do that and then to get teed up, which got him kicked out of the game, there were like a myriad of calls that had happened like within the last 5 minutes that you really could have done that. And I get maybe that was just kind of the straw that broke the camel's back, and it wouldn't have mattered if it was a legitimate foul or not. Rudy Gobert just needed to get his shit off. And boy, did he. He goes to the media, and while he doesn't, explicitly implicate Scott Foster in some sort of a officiating, gambling ring in the NBA, he definitely kind of alludes to it being a thing amongst some of them. Right? And you hear these comments from him and you're like, so what's this fine going to be? Right? Are we thinking 25,000 is not enough? 50,000? Are they going to fine Rudy Gobert 50,000? Not 75, right? Not 75. Dog, they fined Rudy Gobert $100,000 for his comments about officiating and gambling after the game they played against the Cavs. A game, by the way, Anthony Edwards, I get it was the second night of a back-to-back. I get that, we're in the dog days of the NBA season. We're at that point post-All-Star break, right before the playoffs where you're just kind of like, can we just get there? You got 20 games left. You're like, come on, man. Like, let's just get there. A lot of these guys their legs are starting to get tired. And, when you play back-to-backs in this point of the season, it's like, come on, man. But Anthony Edwards, I'm looking at you, son. Because Karl Anthony Towns is out for the next 4 weeks at least. That means it's got to be you. And the night before, he had 44, so this dude's gassed, right? He, didn't want to take a shot in the fourth quarter. And then they got to overtime, and he actually just didn't take a shot. He, wanted nothing to do with the basketball. He, reluctantly takes this game-winning shot, a potential game-winning shot at the end of regulation after Darius Garland did fucking nothing with the basketball for 20 seconds and then got swatted by Naz Reid, left a little bit of time on the clock for Minnesota to get a look at the basket. Anthony Edwards technically had one, and then he just sailed it over the rim. Oh, okay. That dude was gassed. Whatever, man. If you look at all of the odds for MVP, I was talking to my brother about this the other day because he was showing me a graphic, and you look at, I don't know if this would be considered like the high odds guys or the low odds guys, but Anthony Edwards is plus 20,000 to win MVP. Okay, and this is what I'm saying, the high or low, I don't know which one this technically is. Kevin Durant plus 40,000, Jalen Brunson plus 30,000, Donovan Mitchell plus 30,000, Kawhi Leonard plus 15,000. Ooh, but I want to talk about Anthony Edwards at plus 20,000 because I believe losing that game, I believe it knocked them out of the 1 seed in the West. And I'm just kind of like, look, they're going to trip, right? They're going to lose a little bit of footing in the standings, and that's fine. If you're Minnesota, it's like, that's just kind of is what it is, right? But as long as they stay, I think, in the top 3, are we going to have to talk about it with Anthony Edwards, or no? Or is that just too ridiculous? Because I think the only way that they would do that, the only way that they would sort of stay afloat, is if Anthony Edwards goes on this tear where he's averaging 37 to 41 points a game for the next 20 games. You know what I mean? That is how I think Minnesota survives this. And I feel like we're going to get to the end of that, and if it's about the most valuable player, well, how about the guy who just saved Minnesota's season, right? And we can talk about the guy in Denver who's been playing the most efficient basketball on a level that we haven't really ever seen, honestly, for a full presidential term at this point. It's going to be easy to point to that. It's also going to be just as easy to point to Luka down in Dallas, who, by the way, just had his 6th straight 30-point triple-double against Detroit, setting a new NBA record. We're actually going to talk about that game in just a little bit. But I think there's a little bit of juice with that, what did I say, plus 20,000 with Anthony Edwards as MVP of the NBA. If Minnesota is able to secure and sort of stabilize their positioning in the standings. But really, I say all that just to say, we're going to have the conversation for 3 days just for it to end up going to Jokic, right? So that's going to suck. All right, Detroit, Dallas. First of all, what a shameless job by Jason Kidd to keep Luka in this game for like the last 6 minutes when he had no business being in it, just so he could hunt 1 rebound and 1 assist. I get it. It's history. If I'm being honest, that's part of the reason that I was even watching the game, was I was like, oh, Luka's playing my team to go for NBA history. I was like, this is like, because it's this, if you're looking at the schedule and you see your favorite team, it's like, oh, Luka's up next. You're kind of like, do I really want to spend the next 3 hours watching Luka do voodoo shit to my team? Because it's just going to make me mad. It's awesome when it's to somebody else's favorite team, but it's not funny when it's mine. Yep, that's exactly what happened. Unless Asar Thompson was guarding him. Like, legit was in his jersey and kind of put him in a suitcase for like 8 minutes. And then Asar has to check out because he was playing with, some sort of an illness. The guy was sick. It was clear. Like, it looked like he was going to throw up at any minute. And then at one point, he just kind of inexplicably walks off the floor, goes to the bench, kind of has his head in his hands like this, and then the trainers just take him to the locker room, and that was it. Fontecchio starts the second half, and that was it. Well, Luka was in check up until that happened, and then Asar leaves the game, and then Luka was like, thank fucking God, and then he breaks free, and he just starts chucking, and guess what? They were all going in. What sucked was watching Cade try to match it, was watching Cade be like, all right, well, if I'm on the floor, like, I need to go bucket for bucket with this dude. And in a lot of regards, like, in that first half, Luka ended up with, like, I don't know, like 26. Then Cade would have had, like, 23 or 24. Like, he was right there. You know what I mean? Some of the shots that Luka was putting up, like, it just wasn't fair. Cade was doing it sort of in, like, a methodical way that you kind of, it was very quintessential to what Cade's game is. I guess technically so were Luka's shots, because they were just, like, 40-foot, like, sidestep, like, fuck you shots. Only like half of those went in. He short arms most of those. Most of those shots that go up, you're just kind of like, yeah, whatever. Rough game from Stu. Jesus, man. Tough game from Isaiah Stewart. I don't know what this thing is where the second that he knows somebody's around him, he like has to pump fake. He won't just like put the shot up. And I mean, hey, it's strategy. If the dude leaves their feet, it gives you a better look at the basket. Or you can even draw the foul, which just isn't really his MO. It's just not really what he does. But he always has to pump fake, and then it was just a rough game from him. Had a few instances. I think there was Cade is in transition with the basketball, and he has Isaiah Stewart and Jalen Duren, and Cade throws a lob kind of to both of them. I still don't really know who the fuck the lob was actually to. Just sails right out of bounds. Oh, okay, whatever. I want to say this. I was unfair to Jaden Ivey. I think in the last episode, I was talking about the game that we had just played against Brooklyn, and I was just like, yeah, I'm just not in on this experience at all. Like, I'm just not a believer. It wasn't fair for me to do that then in that moment, because Ivey was coming off of a game where he had like 30 plus and went like 6 of 9 from deep. In that same 5 minutes, I probably was talking about how the Pistons just don't have any guys who could shoot. Jaden Ivey was shooting the ball really well that night. It was because in his previous 3 games prior to that, he was 1 of 19 from 3, right? So that was more of what I was talking about. So it wasn't fair for me to say that right after the Brooklyn game. It is fair for me to say it after the Dallas game. Holy shit, man. Like, you go like 7 for 21, you just like put a bunch of shots up, whatever. Okay, whatever. Jalen Duren, brutal. Man, like, brutal. You talk about him being a turnstile on defense. I get there's some history with PJ Washington kind of being a little shit to some of the guys on the team. And I think maybe that's why Jalen Duren felt some type of way and decided to shove PJ Washington. Wasn't a good look, though. Like, it wasn't a good look. Here's what the biggest problem is I still love it, though. Like, hey man, you love those agitators when they're on your team. If we had some of these guys doing this bullshit literally on any other team, I'd be like, get these guys out of the league. Like, these guys are fucking clowns. Like, they're not even on good basketball teams doing this. Like, at least Draymond is a 4-time NBA champion and is on a team that is consistently good. So you get away with these shenanigans. Jalen Duren and Isaiah Stewart are not famously on a good basketball team. So it's just always something from these fucking guys. But it was fun, man. It was a fun game. I think Pistons fans booing and saying, like, they're doing, like, a fuck you, Luka, or Luka sucks chant before the game. And it's like, it's a Saturday night, and we're playing Dallas. You think that arena's full just because it's a Saturday night and people want to come see the Pistons? Motherfuckers, 80% of you are there to see Luka. We are that type of team that you don't go to the game to see the Pistons. You go to the game to see who's in town. You know what I mean? It felt like we were breaking out of that, and we're not. We have not done that yet. Yeah, there are some guys on the team like, yes, I believe people want to come see Cade. I tell you what, do people want to come see Fontecchio? Are people starting to bust down the doors to get a glimpse of Simone Fontecchio? Career high, a really sneaky career high against Dallas the other night. It's not just from three. It's not. The guy can kind of put the ball on the floor a little bit, just put his head down and get to the rim. A little bit. He's like a bigger Svi Mykhailiuk. Like a little bit. You know what I mean? That's been fun. God, I just don't know what you pay him. I don't know what he makes. It's going to be somewhere between like $30 and $60 million. Or not annually, but in totality over like 3 or 4 years is what it's going to be. I think that's it, folks. That's the NBA this weekend. Let's move on. Here's a fun little thing to promote really quick. On Wednesday, I think I mentioned this the other day, but just to do a little bit more of it, actually sell it to you guys. On Wednesday, I'm going to be joining Jacob, a.k.a. Rusty Buckets, Rudy, the producer extraordinaire, and AlexHoops on their podcast over on the channel. The podcast is called The Shoot Around. On the channel, also Rusty Buckets. It'll be live Wednesday afternoon-ish. We actually have a prenatal checkup Wednesday morning. Everything's, all that's going to happen is we're going to walk in and they're going to like check her blood pressure, and check her heart rate, check the baby's heart rate, and be like, how do you feel? She's going to be like, I feel fine. And they'll be like, all right, cool, you could leave. Like, we'll see you in 2 weeks. Like, that's all it's going to be. All right, cool, whatever. But so here's the thing. The reason I want to say this to you guys, I very famously do not use new material when I go on people's podcasts. I don't. I refuse to. I like to play the hits because when I'm tapping into a new audience, I like to do what I know works. So that way, if they enjoy that, then they can come check out the show, right? I'm thinking about testing the waters on some new material when I go on their pod. And here's the thing, because they do it live, that means if I really want to, I can tank this thing and I can take it south. You never really know what's going to happen. I'm going to blow my first segment. I wasn't going to do this on the show. I decided I don't want to do this on the show, on their show. I don't think they're going to like it. I was going to ISO as soon as the show started and be like, let's do a tight 45 to like 90 minutes on NBA players whose politics we want to learn the least. And I've been really trying to rack my brain on this, and it's easy to throw out the Eastern Europeans, right? It's easy to think of like Jokic, right? I don't want to know what a Serbian dude thinks about anything. I honestly don't. Luka, sneaky, might surprise you. Kristaps Porzingis, I also don't know really what Slovenia's politics are. I'm just kind of conflating all Eastern Europeans as with like the same hive mind. Like, you probably think some crazy shit, but to them, we think crazy shit, right? Not to them specifically. I mean, hey, who knows? Can I just give you, yes, like Kristaps Porzingis too, Latvia. Who knows what they think over there? Can I give you one, seriously, that I think we're not going to think of, but as an under-the-radar guy, an NBA player whose politics you do not want to learn? Steph Curry. And the reason that I say this is because the guy who's been living in the Bay Area / San Francisco for like 15 years now, the guy who's been hanging out with like tech giants in Silicon Valley for like 15 years now, the guy who, if he really wanted to become a billionaire, he probably could, honestly, with like the lucrative deal, the opportunities that he has available to him in Silicon Valley. I don't want to fucking know what that guy thinks about anything. Let's read an email. That's it. Also, Rusty Buckets is the channel. The Shoot Around is the podcast. It'll be live Wednesday afternoon, so you guys can come check that out. We got an email from Elias. He's put like a thing at the end where he sort of broke down how to pronounce his name. Like, I don't know how to fucking pronounce Elias. I appreciate it. I sincerely appreciate it, because there are some names that we get sent in that I'm like, I would appreciate it, but Elias? Come on, brother. Of course I know how to say that. Subject line, player movement. Elias, welcome to the show. What's up? Long-time listener, first time writing into the show. I would consider myself an above-average sports fan in general. I follow the MLB, NFL, and college basketball, but not as much as I do the NBA, and none of which as unhealthily as I follow college football. From my interactions, this is somewhat common, and I thought to myself, why is it that college football fandom is more intense, crazier, and overall better? I would love to hear what you think, but I came to the conclusion that there is not an attachment to the players as much as there is to the program/school. Even before the NIL and transfer portal, the most you got to cheer for a college football team was, or a college football player was for 4, maybe 5 years. I believe this forces fans to dive deeper and follow the team rather than the player. This is why the NBA lacks these super diehard fans that college football and even the NFL has to an extent, because player movement and especially star movement is at an all-time high. Because of this, fans can like a player but not necessarily a franchise. For example, if you were a LeBron James fan during his time in Miami and he went back to Cleveland and it was easy to become a Cavs fan because you cheered for LeBron, the same thing happened. Same thing when he went to the Lakers. I suppose this is more of a statement than a question, but wanted to get your thoughts. And then he put in a basketball take, as if the whole fucking thing wasn't a basketball take. Basketball take. Sabonis is the third best center in the NBA behind Jokic and Embiid. I don't hate it. I love Sabonis. I'm just going to give it to you. Sincerely, Elias. Elias, thank you for the email. I think you nailed this. Honestly, I think you absolutely nailed this, dude. Because what comes to mind with like college football specifically is like the amount of donors that I know, for them, that's like their life. I mean, they're putting real money into it, so they're going to be as dialed in as you can possibly be. I mean, how else could you do that? Yeah, you could get like season tickets to, like an NBA game or something, but the closest thing we have to that is if you invested in the Packers and like purchased shares, but those are fake and they don't actually fucking do anything. Right? So that's really the closest you can get is in college football, and well, all of these college programs, is you can just donate. You can be a donor, and then you get all these like fancy schmancy benefits and shit like that. So that'll just, just by that just is going to draw people in. But I do agree with you that people also just have the pride of going to the school. It doesn't matter who's on the team, any given year. Hey man, I put in my 10,000 hours at this school. I went here for like 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 years. I gave you guys how much money? I gave this university how much money getting my education? Like, you're just going to root for whoever it is. And I, as somebody who didn't go to college, but my brother went to Grand Valley State. So, like, I don't care what's going on. I'm always going to root for Grand Valley State, And it's going to be the same thing with Michigan State just because of how many of my family members have gone there over the years. But I do agree with you. I think this is an interesting point. I don't know if for the NBA I would blame it on player movement. But I do agree with the sentiment that you're rooting for the player a lot of the time. For a lot of people, they're rooting for players. They're not necessarily rooting for specific teams. And then just through virtue of whatever team the player is actually on, yeah, they'll consider themselves a fan of that team. But at the drop of a hat, as soon as that guy requests a trade, you think of a guy like James Harden, and like his stands. You think about like how many times they've been, how long they spent being Rockets fans, and then the brief stint that they had being Nets fans, and then the little less brief, but still brief stint that they had being Sixers fans. And hey, now they're huge Clipper fans. They told people their whole lives, like, oh yeah, man, I've always been a huge Clipper fan. Like I'm so glad. I can't wait for that new arena. Honestly, I can't wait for that new Clippers arena. I don't think I ever said anything about the rebrand. I did a little bit about the jerseys. I didn't talk about the logo. Jacob, a.k.a. Rusty Buckets, made a comment that it looks like, I think he said it looks like a hedge fund's, their like new primary logo. He said it looks like a hedge fund logo or something. I thought he was close. I think it looks like, I'm talking about the one that's like the ship, has like the boat and like the sea. I think it looks like an SB Nation or like fan-sided logo. Like a fan blog for the Clippers. That's what the logo looks like. It doesn't look like the logo, like, oh, that's the logo for the actual team? Oh, okay. How about those fucking kids, man? I'm sorry, I'm breaking the email here, Elias. Really just calling my own shot here, just kind of going off on my own thing. So you guys see this? You hear about this? The 2 kids who, like, broke into the arena and then, like, recorded themselves just like fucking shit up in the arena. And no, technically they didn't do anything crazy. Like, I don't want to So like, oh, they were vandalizing it. Like, nah, man, they weren't. Like, they sprayed a fucking fire extinguisher and they like shot around for a little bit. Maybe like broke a piece of like plywood or something. Like, they didn't do anything that harmful. It was crazy to me though that they would. I don't know. Is that like their thing? I'm sure that that's just like what the account is them just like doing that. I don't know, man. This is a great email. I think you're right. But the college football fandom truly is like it's on a different level. I don't know why. What is it about college football that like turns us into savages? I don't know. I really don't know. But this is a good email. And let's move on. I was very serious, unfortunately, about today being a shorter show. We're going to start wrapping it up now. This segment's going to take me a minute, but if you don't care about it, then I apologize about today. I'm seriously, dude. I'm just mentally. It's just going to be one of those days for me, and I want to make sure that I just chill, that I just kind of take it easy, because I have just been so overwhelmed. And now you guys, that I've sort of let the, I don't have an analogy or a simile for this, but now that you guys know that we're expecting, which I should say thank you so much for the kind words. I've read some of them to my girlfriend, and who, for all intents and purposes, I hate that I still have to call her my girlfriend, but I don't know when we're gonna get married. Like I don't know when that's gonna happen. When that happens, it's just gonna be a courthouse thing. Here's what sucks is, back in like July, what our plan was to go to Puerto Rico and like get married down there, and then like we don't want anybody there. Like, we want it to just be us. It's us getting married. We don't want anybody else to be there, right? And that didn't happen because we found out she was pregnant, and then it was like, oh, okay, well, now if we get married, it's going to look like it's like a shotgun, like we're only getting married. It's like, no, we were actually already going to do this. So now I don't know what we're going to do. And at this point, we've been together for fucking almost 10 years. So it's just not, the label just isn't that important to us. We just know that we're going to be together forever. So it sucks that we know that, but I still have to call her my girlfriend. Like, oh my God. I feel like a 15-year-old. I hate it. But anyways, thank you so much to everybody for the kind words and the support, and to all the dads out there who sort of chimed in and gave me some advice. I really appreciated some of the words there. Although I will say, can we talk about emails? Some of you guys have a fucking problem. It's unrelated to it's unrelated to our child. Some of you guys have a fucking problem on your hands. I hate you. 4 emails over the weekend. And in otherwise, there's not that many emails this weekend. 4 of them spoiled Dune. And I would not have known it by reading the title or reading I responded to one this morning, and I was just very briefly like, hey, fucking thanks, asshole. Thanks for this, by the way. What the fuck is your guys' problem? Did you just assume that because I'm a movie guy that, oh, well, surely he's seen Dune Part 2 already? Fuck you. Honestly. I'm reading 1. It had nothing to do with Dune. It had nothing to do with Dune. And then he just completely breaks the email and goes left. He's like, it's like in Dune Part 2 and this, and it just fucking, what is your problem? So fuck you guys for that, honestly. Here's my thing about Dune Part 2. No, I still haven't seen it. But if I'm looking at the Oscars next year, it's like, oh, so we don't even need to have the Oscars next year because it's literally just going to win everything. Oppenheimer was nominated for, 12, or I think, and it won 7. I called my shot. I said it was going to win at least 5. Nice. It won all the ones that I care about. It won Best Score, Best Actor, Best Director, and then it won Best Picture. And then what else was in there? Something else. I do want to say this really quick. Felt really good to delete a comment yesterday. Oh, chef's kiss felt amazing. I put up a graphic in a community post where I was like, how many beers am I going to drink during the Oscars? Over under, like 5.5. Which, by the way, the over did hit. I got to 6. And one of you guys commented, and I swear it's a guy who like regularly listens to the show just based on like his profile picture. I thought I recognized it. And he was like, award shows are stupid, but you do you, I guess. Pop, deleted, gone, record scratch, freeze frame. You're probably wondering how I got here by making stupid comments like that. Shut the fuck up. Award shows are amazing. I love award shows because I know what to look for. Celebrities being celebrities. Emily Blunt's dress was a big topic of discussion in this household. The straps on her dress were very, very rigid, and they didn't actually sit on her shoulders. It's like they hovered. If you play Destiny out there, it was like the Warlock chess piece, the Mantle of Battle Harmony. Is that what it's called? Mantle of Battle Harmony, the one that like the shoulders are like boo, and you like are supposed to use a trace rifle with it. That shit, okay? It did the shoulders like didn't the straps didn't rest on her shoulders. Florence Pugh's was sneaky the same. I'm assuming she was wearing Valentino because that's just as she always wears Valentino. I don't know who Emily Blunt was wearing, but I loved it. Oh my God, I loved it. But here's what I do know. Her and Ryan Gosling being on stage, they weren't even presenting anything. They were just like, hey, stuntmen are cool. But they did like a little funny back and forth. They had great banter about Barbenheimer. Was probably one of the highlights of the night. Holy smokes, that was hilarious. And then Ryan Gosling, they were both just so funny. And then Ryan Gosling doing I'm Just Ken live was fantastic. I go pretty hard for Jimmy Kimmel. I like him a lot. Had a few rough moments last night. The Robert Downey Jr. stuff at the beginning kind of sucked. I thought that was really uncomfortable. It's very clear that it's always so obvious when Robert Downey Jr. isn't into something because he just cannot help but express it through the most like emotive mannerism, like the histrionics that come with like the head tilts and like the like nose scrunching and shit that come with Robert Downey Jr. with a camera being on him. Oh my God, get over yourself. But also the jokes were honestly kind of lame. Whatever, I digress. You know what bothered me last night? I'm not going to lie to you guys. I have no reason to lie to you guys. I probably should lie about this because it's stupid as fuck. I got really emotional when the Oscars were over. Well, for a few reasons, but let me talk about the main one first. It bothers me that Barbie got shut out and it didn't win anything. Oh, it won for What Was I Made For? Doesn't count. It literally doesn't count. Beautiful song. Billy and Phineas, they just fucking deserved it. I mean, they're just generational talents. But that doesn't count. That's not what we're talking about. I think it really sucks if you're going to sit there and Greta Gerwig doesn't get nominated, whether or not she deserved it. It's the fact that she didn't. Margot Robbie doesn't get nominated, whether or not you think she should have. It doesn't matter. She just didn't. But the shit that it did get nominated for, that actually was real, all of the cosmetic shit, right? You talk about costume, you talk about makeup and hair, you talk about production design. That's like half the movie. Right? We're going to talk about Best Sound in just a minute, but the reason why Zone of Interest won Best Sound is because that's like the whole movie. Okay? It's a movie that is inherently voyeuristic, and the point of Zone of Interest is not to show you what's happening, it's to like tell you about it. It's all in your ears. Right? It's shit that's going on in the background. Sound is what makes the zone of... I just fucked up how to describe that. I've been describing it perfectly all weekend, and of course I fucked it up when I'm actually in front of a microphone. See, this is what I mean. It's literally just one of those days, and I'm just really, really I'm just upset. Not about this. Just other shit. Anyways, Barbie could win for costume design? Really? We couldn't even give it that. I think it sucks. Not to be like, why does this country hate women so much? Stop. I don't need to do that. I literally do not need to do that. But like, come on, man. I think it's not a box office award show. You know, at the end of the day, that doesn't matter. It could have made $2 billion, and that does not make it any more deserving of an Oscar than anything else. What the fuck was going on with Poor Things, though? Poor Things won that many awards? Huh? It's not an Emma Stone slander pod she's amazing. She's amazing. She's amazing. Okay? Were we not all sitting there the whole night being like, all right, like Lily Gladstone, get up there. Go ahead. Like, go ahead, Lily. No. I was shocked, man. It would have been like if Bradley Cooper won for Best Actor. You would have been like, huh? Like, what? That was crazy. Best Sound. Yeah, I mean, I was saying I was saying all week, that was the category of the night, and it was. And that, so here's what my brother and I do is we pick every category, and you get 2 picks for every category. You get your main pick, which is worth 2 points, and then you get your secondary pick, which is worth 1 point. And we were going back and forth all night, right? I was down 2 points. He didn't have Zone of Interest picked for best sound at all. It wasn't his first pick or his alt pick, but it was my first pick. I was down 2 points. And John Mulaney goes up there. By the way, is he on drugs again? What the fuck was that? Hey, he was hilarious. He did great. Like, he crushed it. But it just felt very like, is John Mulaney on drugs again? Zone of Interest fucking wins. I get the 2 points back. We end up tying. It's chalk the rest of the way. I did the silencer in real life. In real life when the Zone of Interest won for best sound. Because it was one of those moments where between that and between like All Quiet on the Western Front winning for best score last year on the strength of 3 fucking chords, the fuck? Don't talk to me about this shit. Don't. I know more, okay? I promise, don't fucking talk to me about this because every year I get better. 2 years from now, if I don't have a vote, I don't know what the fuck went wrong. Seriously, dog. This is what I do. This is my life. This isn't just my Super Bowl for some fucking... No, this is my life, okay? Went 2 for 2 on a best original screenplay and best adapted. Anatomy of a Fall and American Fiction. Get the fuck out of my face. You think I don't read this shit? You think I don't read these every single time I see the goddamn movie? Sometimes I haven't even seen the movie and I'll read that shit. Get the fuck out of my face. This is what I do. I say all that just to say we ended up tying. Whoops. 20 Days in Mariupol was probably... Did I just spit everywhere? That was disgusting. Was probably one of the best documentaries I've ever seen. Volcano of Love or Fire of Love. Which one was it called? That's ironic that I'm about to praise it as much as I am. I can't remember what the fuck it was called. Came out a year or 2 ago. I think that was last year, right? Because the one that actually ended up winning was the Navalny documentary. Shout out to him for making it in the In Memoriam, I guess. Was the takeaway from the In Memoriam that not that many people died this year? Like, I don't know. Yeah, there were some in there that was like, damn. But a lot of them that were in there, you're like, yeah, but that's a TV guy, though. Like the dude from Brooklyn Nine-Nine, Andre last name. Matthew Perry was a big one. Like, a lot of the people that died, you're like, well, yeah, but they did TV. They probably got a bigger... They probably held the frame on their name for like a couple seconds longer at like the Emmys. Maybe got a bigger applause because there just wasn't that like, oh, fuck, that guy moment at the Oscars this year for In Memoriam. Do I have anything on the John Cena getting naked thing? It's funny. It's a good bit. It was funny. Hey. Not to do an Al Pacino impression while I'm about to talk about Al Pacino. That was inadvertent. But did Al Pacino... between this and the Tony Romo fucking up Jim Nance's Super Bowl call, I don't know if I'm just reading too much into things. Did Al Pacino kind of fuck up reading Best Picture? Or is that just me? Because he kind of just walked out on stage and was like, hey, whoa, hey. And then, like, opens the envelope and is like, it says Oppenheimer. And, like, that was it. There was no histrionics. There was no theater that came with it. Right? It was, he just and I get that they spend the whole night, every time they come back from commercial, they're like, here's a nominee for Best Picture this year, and they'll do like a little feature of it. And I get they do that, they spend the whole night doing that, so that when it comes time to actually present the award, they don't have to go through 10 fucking movies, because of course we need 10 movies in Best Picture. I don't actually have a problem with it. I don't need to be a boomer. But Al Pacino just kind of walked out and read it, and it felt like it was too soon, and it felt like that's not what the moment calls for. Hey, this award that Jimmy Kimmel mentioned at the beginning of the show that they're going to be adding in the future, achievement in casting, I hope that's a real thing. I did not hear about that. You see this? You hear about this? I did not, actually. Achievement in casting is a great award, and I hope that's real, and I hope they actually implement that in the future. Because I've always wondered, like, what awards do we add to the Oscars? That's an awesome one. That is an awesome one. Oppenheimer it wouldn't have been close this year. I think that's it. I think that's just about everything from the Oscars. I got real life emotional and a bit teary-eyed that Barbie just was completely shut out outside of the, Billy winning an Oscar. And then, Killers of the Flower Moon straight up didn't win anything. Like, actually nothing. Zone of Interest won, I think, 2, maybe 3. They won Best International, and then they won Best Sound. I swear to God there was one more in there. But it was Nolan's night. And that's who I haven't even talked about. It was Christopher Nolan finally getting a Best Director. Oh, my God, Wes Anderson. Wes Anderson finally winning an Oscar for a short film and not being there. And I'm not even, Asteroid City got no love critically. Or, publicly. People just, the public did not care for Asteroid City at all. They were like, boo, it's not Grand Budapest Hotel, right? It was cute. I think the problem with Asteroid City was them. And by the way, this is how you can talk about that movie now, motherfuckers, because it's been out for 9 months. You can't just email me about Dune Part 2 and give me all the plot details. Fuck you guys for that, man. Honestly. But the problem with Asteroid City is it spends too much time with the meta theater part. If it was just what's going on in the desert with the aliens, it would have been I honestly think it maybe would have been one of his best movies. But alas, finally got an Oscar. Dude wasn't even there. Alrighty, ladies and gentlemen, I'm so sorry for today's show being short. Truly I am. I don't know if you can tell. I'm just very tightly wound today. If you are listening to this on Spotify, I'm not actually going to ask you guys to rate 5 stars or like the video today. That's my apology to you for making today's episode shorter. I will catch you guys
Computers now have
in the next
primary
one.
control.
Beautiful, beautiful,
Primary control.
beautiful,
Primary control.
beautiful,
Primary control.
beautiful.